Hi R10, I'm going to give you a little rundown of what we're doing in Module 3 this week. So in Module 3, we're pretty much continuing this concept of working with line and balance. This week is going to focus a little bit more on implied line. So like this graphic right here is a really good example of when we're looking at what we're commonly, experience as line defining the edge of a shape. So if we look at this upside down triangle, it's got a bold, thick black line, right? But it's broken by this space right here. So what's happening is your eye is filling in this point to this point, assuming that it discontinues here, but it's going to continue here. So we fill in that there's a shape here. There's a secondary thing that happens with this particular concept is it's using a shape here to do sort of like what you might define as a hard edge. And that's creating this secondary white triangle that we're seeing that has no lines. So there's implied line happening in two ways here. We have the black defined triangle, that line work that's outlining the triangle on the bottom, and then we have this other one on top, which is being defined by these circles, right? And then where it intersects that circle. So our eye fills in that information. That's kind of what we're playing with this week. So going into that, let's go ahead and run through. We have a regular Zoom session that'll happen tomorrow. And going into this, we'll be continuing that mural activity. So don't worry about the link. I'll of course give that to you when we're in class. So we're going to continue that discussion and look at a couple of the things we worked on last week. Going into what's new this week is I want you to work on part 1, which is your value scale examples with Micron pen. I noticed a couple students already started working on this, but you're just continuing that concept of working with stippling, hatching, cross-hatching, and scribbling. So your worksheet should look similar to this. Going into that, like here's an example of Hayden. Thank you, Hayden. It looks like, yeah, we're on the right track here. So we're trying to show like different separations of value, right? And when we go into the next part, we're going to be working with, you have your reading this week, and it's going to be on using line and linear networks. So we're skipping around a couple places because this is a new book for me this semester, so we will be kind of bouncing back and forth according to what we're working on in class. So just know that, that first part is probably going to be about 4 pages. So it's in chapter 1, and you're reading these two topics, linear networks and using line. The other part is going to be in chapter 3, so then skip forward to chapter 3, and I want you to read over unity and variety, unifying forces, and then stop. Once you get to, once you see the word pattern, stop right there. And that's going to be around 9 pages. Go ahead and, get that in. That's going to be on as a document. I think I gave you some feedback on the notes. Include sketches. Make sure that you translate it into your own words. And I'm trying to think, make sure that it's comprehensive, it's covering all the topics that were described in there. Going into your actual exercises, you're going to be applying balance using shapes. So you have an option, I believe, on this one to do it. Here's the thing. It can be hand drawn, and it could be digital. So you have a couple options here. And when we're looking at balance and shapes, we're going to be focusing on different ways of working with symmetry, right? And there's 3 ways that we're going to do it. These should be covered in the reading. So I want you to, if you're unfamiliar with these terms, go back to your reading, look at symmetrical versus asymmetrical versus radial. I do have a quick video on here. If you're going to do it digitally, you can use Sketchpad. I can't remember if I had a video on here that talked about balance. Oh yeah, it's more about the vocabulary, right? But these are kind of 3 examples. So bear with me. I'm going to skip down here because I want to take you to the next step. So you have option 1. You can use ink, graphite, and markers. So if you have these, or if you want to play with the gouache, you can use that as well. If you're doing that, know that you have 3 of them to do, 3 9x6 sheets. If you're doing it digitally, it should be that same ratio. Don't turn in a square, turn in a 9x6 ratio. So if you're not sure how to do that, check with me, or maybe you might want to do this hands-on. So 2 colors maximum. I don't want you using any more than that. Go into the next session. Now, what I'd like you to do for this one, for exercise 6, for application of using implied line. So we're going to look at got some quick video. In like traditional foundation drawing, this outline right here, the apple, is a good example of a defined line. What I want you to do is not that. See how this is controlled through shading, and where this might be referred to as a hard edge, where you have the hard edge of that apple against that white background. That contrast between value creates an edge. You're going to be thinking about this in a more two-dimensional design concept. So rather than the drawing of the apple, it's okay to be illustrative with this. So you can apply line, you can use like some subtle dots or patterns. There's different ways of working with implied line. And so in this example, there's a slight, it's very limited color, but the dress and the hair are being done with dots, right? And that your eye fills in the rest of those shapes. Same with this, the squiggle of the hair and the coat, right? You're kind of sensing that movement that's in there through the squiggles of the hair is creating some motion, right? And then you have the lines that are happening in the coat kind of going with the lines of the wind. So there's different ways of doing this. If you're more in, with color, you can use color for this. I'm okay with that. But I'd like you to play with that concept creatively of how can I create implied line. And so these are just a few examples. If I have time, or if you need me to find some examples, I could get some for you. But let me know at the next Zoom session. Next, that's it. So you got your part 1 to work with, right? Part 1, project 1. You have your 2 exercises. I was keeping that in mind for this week because I want, and then we have our Zoom session. So I think that's about it. I do want you thinking about your project and working on that. So you should be working on that this week and next week. That deadline will sneak up on you, so make sure you're on it. All right. Talk to you soon. Bye.